Welcome to another super high production quality podcast. As you can guess, I'm just doing this from my lounge room. I'm not really sort of an established blogger or anything like that. I'm just putting the information out there, and we'll see how it all goes. So what I wanted to do today was talk a bit about why I think that leggings, tights, compression pants, whatever you want to call them, are a good idea specifically for men for hiking. So I see a lot of women wearing these things, and that seems to be reasonably accepted. And I suppose the same for runners as well. So you see a lot of male and female runners using tights or compression pants, that sort of thing, and it's reasonably accepted, but it's not really so accepted amongst hikers. So typically hikers tend to use either shorts or some sort of trousers, which I've also tried myself over a number of years. But I've moved now to using compression pants, which I think they call leggings in the US. And I just want to give you some pros and cons, what I think are the advantages and perhaps some of the disadvantages of using compression pants. Now, specifically the ones that I'm using, the ones I'm wearing now, although it's a bit pointless, you can't really see them. There we go, these are my old compression pants. And I've just recently bought a new pair with fancy patterns on them. And these are by a manufacturer called Skins, but there are other brands out there as well. And there are also leggings which are specifically designed for hiking. So some of them have pockets in them, and they may be a little bit thicker than the ones that I've got here. So there's a range of different ones. My experience is with the compression pants, both the shorts and the long ones. So one of the things that prompted me to make this was I occasionally get some pretty insulting comments about wearing these things, or at the very least I get some strange looks. So I kind of just wanted to put the information out there about why I think this sort of gear is good for hiking, particularly long distance hiking. For short hikes it doesn't really matter. You can get away with pretty much anything, as with most of your gear. But when you start covering any distance, I think that there are distinct advantages in these particular items. Now, it doesn't help my case very much. When I looked up leggings, they were defined as tight-fitting stretch trousers typically worn by women or girls. So that doesn't really bode well for in support of my argument for men using them. But I think that the reasons that women use them, the same thing can apply to men, and there are also other advantages specific to men. So what initially got me into using these compression pants was a book that I was reading quite a long time ago on ultralight hiking, and the author, although he doesn't necessarily hike all the time in these, he did mention using women's leggings or women's tights for hiking as a base layer. And I initially got some short compression pants that I used to just wear for hiking with my bottom part of my legs exposed, and I found that the issues I had with chafing and just generally heat and that around that sort of the groin area and things like that were greatly improved. In fact, I hardly got any problems after that. So I moved pretty much into using these all the time, and I went from short to the longer version because I get a lot more protection on my legs from the sun and so forth. So I had a bit of sunburn on a few trips, and I decided that the longer pants were better. So basically what I do is I have a pair of compression pants that I wear, okay, the full length ones. I really don't think there's any advantage in using the shorter ones because these are so cool to wear that your legs don't get hot in them, so they're fine. And what I do is I put a pair of running shorts, just really lightweight running shorts, if you can see that, over the top. And really the only reason I wear those is really for modesty, and also because a friend of mine refused to hike with me unless I wore something over the leggings. Anyway, let's move on to some of the pros and cons. So, pros of using leggings or compression pants. Number one for me is comfort. So if I'm walking a long distance, I get very sweaty, I get very hot, and if I don't wear this kind of clothing that's really lightweight and breathes incredibly well, I just get really bad chafing. So it actually limits how much I can actually walk. If I try to do long distances in traditional hiking trousers or shorts, it just gets too hot for me. I get a lot of chafing, a lot of rashes and things like that from the heat. So I think a lot of that's to do with how the compression pants or leggings in general work. They sort of keep everything in place, if you know what I mean, and they keep your, I guess they compress your muscles a little bit so your thighs aren't rubbing together as much, but also they get a lot of ventilation because they're very thin. In fact, this old pair that I'm wearing at the moment, which has got massive holes in the knees and things like that, you can actually see my hairs coming through it. So they're really thin, and the sweat and everything just evaporates straight out of them. So they're really good for keeping cool and really good for avoiding rashes and things like that. And the other thing I mentioned with comfort is you don't need a belt or anything like that on them. So they're very close to your skin. They fit, well, like a proverbial glove. So all of this material that you have with traditional hiking pants, so like a belt and all this other material, none of that's there. Okay, so your harness just sits on your waist. Okay, so there's nothing to interfere with it, so you don't get all of the rubbing and that around your waist from the fabric or things bunching up or anything like that. It just fits really well. So yeah, comfort is number one. Another thing is that you don't have to remove them in hot weather. So I recently did 100 k's or so hiking down the coast. It was quite hot, even though it's winter in Australia. It's still relatively warm. But I've also hiked in the middle of summer with these compression pants, and yeah, they're just cool. You don't have to worry about taking them off when it gets hot. Whereas if you're hiking in, traditional pants, they're just going to get too hot. Okay, even shorts I find are too hot, but the pants in particular, all down your legs and that, they just get too hot. So you end up having to take them off, put them in your pack, which adds bulk to your pack. It adds weight. That's another thing. These things weigh next to nothing. Okay, compared to a traditional pair of pants. So if you're going ultralight, well, this is ultralight. Yeah, so packability, if you're not wearing them at any particular time. So although I wear these pretty much all the time, so I'd hope I'd be wearing something. I don't usually carry a lot of different clothes with me, so yeah, I wear them pretty much all the time. But I can just wear the running shorts without them, and or maybe my rain pants or something like that. And if they have to go in the pack, they don't take up much bulk and they don't weigh very much. One of the other pros is that they work as a base layer. So they're very thin, so you can have them as a base layer under other layers. So you might put a warm or a thermal layer over the top of them, and then perhaps a shell over that. And the sweat just moves straight through them. They're synthetic, so you don't have to worry about them getting wet or anything like that. Another thing is they don't get caught on things. So when you're hiking through the bush, the bottom of your regular pants, they flap out a bit like this, and the legs, there's a lot of fabric there, so it can easily get caught on things. Whereas what I find when I'm using the compression pants, I don't tend to get that problem. Sometimes something gets snagged on them, but it's pretty uncommon. I've mentioned sun protection, so they provide excellent sun protection compared to shorts. So shorts might be okay for keeping some people cool, but they don't give you any protection on your legs, whereas these at least give you a bit of protection. I mean, it's not as much protection as pants, but you know, it's still reasonable, and it's certainly good for the sun. So I can be out all day hiking in these sort of things in bright sun, and I don't get sunburned. They're very fast to dry, so because they're such thin material and they're right next to the skin, they dry incredibly fast. So if I go through water, for example, I find that these pants are dry in a very short period of time after I've gone through the water. Okay, so they dry really quickly, which is particularly important for hiking, because you know, you don't want to be wearing wet gear, and you don't want gear that dries slowly, particularly in very cold environments. So having a layer which just gets rid of the water really quickly, just dries really quick, is really important. So it's great in a layering system to have something nice and thin like this. Flexibility and mobility. So compared to regular pants, which sort of catch when you try and climb up over rocks and doing things like this, or they restrict your movement a bit, these don't. Okay, you have fantastic mobility in them. You know, you can put your leg over your head if you were that flexible. You know, they're just super flexible, and they give you super mobility. And also, you know, when you're sort of trying to weave your body between things as well, I find that, you know, because they fit you so tightly, you know, you can do that much more easily. So that leads on to my next point: lack of snag points. Okay, so again, because they fit you so tightly, they don't snag as easily as trousers. They can snag, but you know, it's perhaps a little bit less likely. They're reasonably durable. So this particular pair I'm wearing here has a massive hole in the knee. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. But these are very old. I've had these for a long time, and they've got holes here and there. And you know, I've used these for hiking places like the Western Arthurs in Tasmania, where I've been sort of knee deep in mud, and I've gone through. You know, I've gone off track with them and all sorts of things. So you know, they are reasonably durable. I mean, I won't say that they're as durable as you know, really good quality hiking pants. But having said that, I've got hiking pants here. I mean, these aren't a particularly good example, because these did last a reasonable long time, but you can see relatively lightweight hiking pants, which is what you want if you're doing through hikes and things like that. The material will rip relatively easily. You know, you just have to catch it on something a bit, you know, like a hook or a piece of branch or something like that, and it can rip. And I've gone through a number of different pairs. Here's another one here which hardly lasted at all, and that's got huge holes in the back end, okay, and in the legs. So, oh, here's another pair. So, you know, even proper hiking pants don't necessarily last that well, and yeah, as I say, I've had pretty good wear out of my older pair of compression pants, and I guess we'll just see how this new pair goes. There are obviously some leggings or tights that are not made for outdoor use, but I think things like these compression pants are made for outdoor use, so they're likely to last a lot longer than gym pants, for example. Now, protection from ticks, look, you know, I'm not really sure about that one, but my feeling is that because they fit you so tightly, the ticks are more likely to be on the outside of the garment rather than on the inside. So with traditional hiking pants, you know, you've got these openings in the bottom and that, which ticks and that can sort of crawl up. I also treat them, and I think you do have to do that with any clothes if you're concerned about ticks and other insects. So I treat them with a chemical that hopefully discourages ticks and things like that and other insects. But yeah, I think they give some protection for ticks. I can't really quantify it. I've mentioned that you don't need to wear a belt, so you don't have all of that material around your middle or anything causing discomfort. They may assist with performance. So, I mean, one of the arguments for compression pants is that they're supposed to sort of, you know, compress your muscles and help with oxygenation and all that sort of thing. Look, I don't know how much of that is true and how much is just marketing spin, but my personal experience is that I hike longer when I'm wearing these sort of things, but then that could be just the fact that I'm doing longer hikes now, so I've got more capability to do it. So yeah, I don't know. So those are the pros. What about some of the cons? Well, the obvious one, which I mentioned at the start, was that people give you strange looks. So I do get some pretty odd looks, particularly at the end of a hike where I walk into a supermarket to buy something, or if I'm in a public area. When I'm on the trail, I'm kind of by myself mostly, so it doesn't really matter what people think. And yeah, you do get some odd looks and that from other hikers, but through hikers in particular do some pretty weird things anyway. So I think you'd be in pretty good company wearing leggings or compression pants. And personally, I don't really care what other people think as long as I'm comfortable. And if I'm not comfortable or I can't perform the way I want to and do the distances that I want to cover in regular pants, then why would I wear them? I'd wear something that works for me, and that to me is just a logical choice. It's not to do with fashion or being different or anything like that. It's just about making a logical choice based on your experience and the information that you have. And to me, the compression pants are a logical choice. Anyway, and occasionally you get insults and things like that, as I've mentioned. But you know, I think if people want to make judgments of you, then it's really on them. It's not on you. It's their insecurities that they're acting on, not yours. I mean, I'm perfectly comfortable with the way I dress and things like that. So it's not worth worrying about it. Insect protection, I've said possibly helps with ticks and things like that, but it certainly doesn't help with mosquitoes and those kind of biting insects, because they can bite through the fabric quite easily, and that's where you need to treat the fabric really. There's little protection from thorns and sharp bushes, so again, you've just got to avoid those things. As I said, I kind of find it relatively easy to find my way through scrub and that when I'm wearing these pants, because I've got kind of more spatial awareness of where my skin is, and visual confirmation, I suppose, and where my legs are and all that sort of stuff. So I guess I find it easier to navigate thorns and that sort of stuff, but occasionally you get caught up, and I think it's the same with hiking pants, and certainly with shorts. Shorts give you less protection than these kind of compression pants. There's not a lot of warmth in them, so they're a very thin layer. As I said, they're good for layering in colder conditions, but unless you're doing a lot of walking and you're really hot, you will need to put something on top of you in colder conditions if you're standing around or anything like that. So base layer fine, but if you're standing around or if it's particularly cold, you'll probably have to layer up. And they don't have any pockets. Now, I don't know whether this is a pro or a con. I mean, the only trouble I find is when I'm going into a supermarket or something like that to buy things. Where do I put my credit card or keys or whatever? And usually it's a jacket pocket or one of the pockets on my harness. But yeah, they don't. At least these type don't really have proper pockets. Some of the hiking pants do, but the compression pants don't. So that's my argument in favour of compression pants or leggings or tights or whatever you want to call them for men. And look, as I said, I think there are things that are specific to men that these have advantages for. They sort of keep the downstairs area a little bit cooler, and really the whole point in having all of your man bits outside your body is to keep them cool, and I certainly find that they make a massive difference for me in terms of my capacity to walk reasonable distances, because I'm not getting that chafing and those kind of problems. So yeah, I just think that they're a good idea for hiking, specifically for men, but probably for both men and women. I'll put a few links to other YouTube videos by folks who, I guess, also think that leggings are a good idea for men to use. I'd love to hear your perspective. Are you using compression pants or leggings or something like that in your hiking? Is there any particular reason why you don't think that they're a good idea? Yeah, anyway, share your comments. Thanks, everyone.